From Amerivet Securities, a service-disabled, veteran-owned broker-dealer in New York City, we bring you Compass Check, a podcast created by veterans for veterans. The military uses the compass to navigate air, land, and sea. Now, Compass Check is here to help you navigate your transition into the corporate workforce. Our goal is to reach military veterans and members of the veteran community, empower and connect them with a multitude of resources that will ultimately set them up for success after leaving the military. I'm your host, Army veteran James Fitzgerald. Let's get moving. Kids Rank is a 501c3 service-based organization located in Chicago, Illinois, and was developed specifically for military children. Through the formation of local clubs called Prides, Kids Rank engages children in hands-on, skill-building projects and volunteer opportunities designed to encourage resiliency using three guiding core pillars of connect, lead, and serve. My guest today is Kids Rank Executive Director Kelcey Liverpool. Here's our conversation. Okay, let's get stepping. It's great to have you here today with me, Kelcey. I'm going to go ahead and open the floor up to you so you can give us some of the background information and key information that we and our viewers need to know about Kids Rank. Go ahead, pass it over to you.
Hi, good morning. I'm Kelcey Liverpool, and I founded Kids Rank. We are an organization specifically designed for military and veteran children. So this year we're celebrating our 10th anniversary, which is super exciting. And so how it all began was it started with a group of 10 kids, two of which were my own in Illinois. And so we recognized that there was a gap in services for military kids, and we wanted a way to be able to support them based on their transitions being part of our families. So our core pillars are connect, lead, and serve. And we want the kids to really connect with each other and the communities that they're moving into, so that they have that support that they might not ordinarily get with people that understand what they're going through, and then work towards leadership qualities through our curriculum, and then to be of service to their community. So we really want to reflect back, their parents' service and the importance of that in what they do, because service is really ingrained in military culture. And so we want to really foster that, love of being able to give back to your communities. And so we're a social and emotional learning program. So we really think about how we are connecting kids on a level that they might not necessarily get in school, because, it really is difficult when you have to transition every 2 to 3 years. Most military kids will go on average to 9 schools between kindergarten and 12th grade. And, that can be really a challenge. And so we want that space where they can feel like they have other people that are supporting them in a way that, encourages them to be their best selves.
And I noticed that when you were talking about the establishment of Kids Rank, you had mentioned that your own children were some of the beginning participants in the organization. I definitely want to kind of lean in on those kind of influences and backgrounds that directly get to the heart of our discussion today, which is the issues and challenges and obstacles facing our military families, regardless of which of the 6 branches they're serving in, but also and more directly, some of the issues, challenges, and obstacles facing our military children. So, I definitely want to kind of peel back some of the layers, if you don't mind, and just discuss a little bit about some of your background as a military spouse, but also a military parent, like what that looks like from the inside. Kind of give us the inside track to what's been going on.
Sure. So yes, as you mentioned, I was a military spouse for 17 years, Navy. And so we did the moving around. We were stationed in Virginia and Pennsylvania and here in Illinois and actually Japan as well. So we got to have kind of this, world experience, which really gave my kids, a perspective that I think is unique to military kids, in terms of how we transition so frequently. And so my daughter now, my older daughter, is in, because she goes to Howard University, but she also
Mm.
this summer joined the Coast Guard,
Oh, nice.
and so she is a coastie. And so there's a statistic that says over 50% of our currently serving are children of veterans. And so my household meets that demographic, but it really is a family tradition. But both of my kids are very, I guess you would say, my older one is studying international business. My younger one is now currently doing a study abroad and is in Italy in her freshman year, of college. And so I think that the idea that these military kids bring so much to the table, really. I mean, I think that doesn't always get recognized. They're not always thought of when you talk about veteran issues or the
Mm.
military. The kids don't always get kind of the recognition that I feel like they deserved. And so yeah, for I guess for 20 years now. I mean, I've kids rank as 10 years old, but I've been part of this community for quite some time now, and really have gotten to experience their uh, they're amazing. I mean, that's the long and the short of it. I mean, they have to adapt to new places. They have to say goodbye to friends and families. We traditionally, military families lived on post or on base, and so all of their services, medical, schools, anything, the grocery store, was all contained within
Right.
that post.
Yep.
Now, today, modern day, it's different for our families. So 80% of them live in civilian communities, and 70% of the kids go to public schools. And so we're much more, ingrained in civilian communities than we were. I mean, there are military kids literally in every single zip code across the country. And so that includes like our veteran families, our National Guard and reservists, our active duty. And so if you think of it in that context, really, military children, everybody is really probably connected in a way that they don't realize that they are. And so the importance of supporting them really becomes an, a national issue, because if they are going to be going into the military, they're a continuing tradition. Our next fighting force of military, half of them will be military kids. Half of the military child population, will be, potentially going into service.
And I think you bring up a great point about the national security aspect of ensuring that we're up armoring our children mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and giving them the correct tool set in order to be successful in whatever way that they view success in. But before I go any further, I definitely have to, thank you for your continued service and support of your husband. Thank him for his service. Go Army for me as an Army veteran.
Well, I can
Uh,
say that, we actually are no longer married.
oh,
So,
well,
he but he's still active duty. He's a lovely man. That's actually another thing that I think people don't realize as well. There are, divorce rate is higher in military communities,
yep.
because of all the transition and the separation, and so how that impacts the children. And having, we have a lot of young kids in our program that are impacted by that, where parents have split, and the service member might have to continue to PCS and move, and the parent that is at home, is with the children. And so that, again, that separation and still being part of that military community, has a huge impact.
And I appreciate you picking me up from my stumble just a second ago. But it does like take us in another very interesting direction in this discussion about our military families, which is the continual hustle and bustle that comes along with military service, but also kind of that continual shuffle that the family has to endure and adapt and overcome in order to maintain the military lifestyle.
Absolutely.
I definitely want to keep in that kind of sphere of thinking when it comes to some of the points you made earlier about the resources that you're connected to when you're on a military installation or serving on active duty in the military. There are so many written resources and benefits, medical, dental, vision, things like that, that many people think about when we speak about benefits. But some of the other ones that are just as crucial to a healthy, functioning family include community centers, parks, religious centers, grocery stores, all the things to make sure that normal societal life can function. A lot of those are readily available on military installations. When military personnel transition out, some of the communities that we're moving to don't have those same resources as readily available as we're accustomed to. So how can we, as individuals that have experienced this, how can we better support those that are transitioning out now, but also those that are going to be transitioning out in times to come?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I mean, it's to your point, for especially our families, and, I'm always coming from the lens of the children. When a service member separates from the military and transitions out, the services that they were once entitled to, some of them are severed. And so, that's especially for the families, right? So those community centers that kids used to be able to go to, those programs that they might have been involved in through, military bases or installations, they don't have access to those anymore as a veteran status in a lot of situations. Our program is open to all branches of service, active duty, retired, veteran, National Guard, families of the fallen. I mean, for us, we recognize that military culture, like that, it's a part of you, whether you are, in service currently or you have been in the past. And so I think that there are many organizations that serve and are really starting to think about that transition, right? And how we make that a smoother experience for the whole family. But there's still some catch up to do, right? Because, you know, it, it's still an area that I think on the civilian side, they think, oh, the military is going to help with that. But that isn't necessarily always the case. And so, us as an organization, we're not federally funded. We don't get funding in that way. We get funding through organizations such as yourself, companies, foundations, individuals, and that allows us to really engage in a way that thinks more holistically of the family experience. And so we are able to kind of step in and support. And that's really what's helpful, right? To have organizations kind of outside. I think of like building this. One of my favorite pieces of research talks about building communities of care. Right. And so it's really important for our community members to be educated around military culture. So for our kids, teachers, mental health providers, churches, community organizations, so that they understand what military culture they are competent around how to best support our children, our families, our service members, in whatever stage they are in service. And so I think that's such an important way. And, like when people say, how do you get involved? Really, kind of education, learning. So we work with organizations such as the Military Child Education Coalition that does trainings for community members, for teachers, for educators, but it kind of goes, more broadly beyond that on cultural competency around military culture and how you best support the social and emotional well-being of military kids and community. And I think that is, we do as an organization what we do really well. We do direct service programming. We meet with the kids once a week. We have tons of family activities and events, and we are present. But we can't do all of it. So we need other organizations and other support systems to do their job. You do your role so that we have this net, and it will help ensure that less children kind of fall through the cracks. Because to, kind of what you said before, we want, really compassionate, well-adjusted leaders, military children that grow up to be this, because if they go into service, it would make sense that they were, stable and well adjusted. Um, that would just be my vote. But it's interesting that, we continue to serve, that families that are in service, even when they get out, continue to serve.
And we thank you for your continued service, and it's highlighting a need that is nationwide in every single community. As our veterans transition out, kind of give me an idea of, you had already mentioned the eligibility to, participate with your program for our, service members is wide ranging. Any branch, any era, so on and so forth. What is that successful outcome for that veteran, that military family member that connects with you? What's that successful outcome on that aspect of thinking, but also what is the successful outcome for the young person that they're connected with?
Right. I mean, so we want them to feel seen, really. We want them to understand that their uniqueness in being part of a military family, that's a strength, to look at the strength-based, perspective of it.
Mm.
Um, and so, we, as they transition, so for us, we're based here in Illinois. So we're in the Chicagoland area. That's where we run our direct service program. We do have some virtual options as well, but the goal is to grow nationally. So, you think of a military service member, they usually will have a sponsor when they go to their new command. The spouse might have an FRG group that they connect with, but there's not really that for the kids. And so, we're looking to have that thread of continuity so that the kids have something that they can feel secure in when they go into new situations. And so that's really one of the biggest pieces, is that allows them to build confidence, so that they're going into communities and they have this kind of reassurance that, oh, I have safety here. I will be seen. We really take really a lot of pride. The military, like, they have this idea that there's this one vision. Like, you see a military child, and really in the media, the only thing that you see is like that homecoming, like a deployed service member and that homecoming, and meeting at the school, which still makes me cry. But it's
Mm.
a very small kind of sliver of what a military child, kind of the broader version of military children. So some of the work that we're doing is to bring awareness around, really the tapestry of the military community, because it's not this singular idea of, a two parent, a husband that's active duty with their wife, with their 2 point whatever kids. We have a very, we have dual military, we have single family homes, we have families that are coming from other countries, we have, LGBTQ military families. I mean, it really is, there are these pockets of community. And so I think it's important to think about, like, how we as a community best support. So for us, getting involved in kind of some of those outcomes, we really want to see confidence, but we know that we need to build an understanding. And so one of the things that we've done, I'm just going to keep going. One of the things
Please,
that we've
please.
done,
It's like I'm hanging on
uh,
your every word.
so we have, it's called Masks of Hope. We Are Resilience Masks of Hope program. And it was really derived to start thinking about and understanding the military child experience from their own words and from their own, expression. And so this project started right before COVID, and it's based in arts education. You may have seen it. Veterans have done masks where they design masks, not COVID masks, but art masks,
It's like,
where
oh,
they. Yeah,
you never know
and
nowadays. It's
now
like, oh,
you have to differentiate. But
yeah.
so they are art masks where they explored the concepts of color and what color means and design, and then they were took these pieces and were expressions of themselves. So this is the catalog,
Oh,
and so we had a beautiful catalog made of what these kids, their experiences. Part of this goes into some of the research. So the big thing for us is what I was just saying a few minutes ago, the research. We did this with 100 kids locally in Illinois right before COVID, and then we're able to have an exhibition. And then now we're taking the program nationally.
Uh,
So
uh,
we want to impact 1,000 kids in this next year. And so really what the driver behind it was is to take in information and talk about these different pockets of community and learn, like, where are the needs, where are we, not paying attention to areas that we should be in support of military kids. So like next month, or I guess in a few weeks, we will be in Washington with the Wounded Warrior Project and Elizabeth Dole Foundation.
Very nice.
And we will be doing this project with caregiver military children. It's Month of the Military Caregiver in May. And it's, again, something that people don't think about, that, military children become caregivers for their parents sometimes if they have, traumatic brain injury, PTSD, things of that nature, and a whole host of things. But I mean, so we're going to do this project with caregiver military children and really get some feedback and information on that as a piece of this project. But we want to do it nationally. We are doing this nationally. And so we would like people to participate. We just got to reach out from an organization in Pittsburgh, Veterans Breakfast Club, and they are going to be doing it in their community with a group of veteran children. And so it can be active duty children, veteran children. We're working with the Black Veteran Project to also work with them
Yeah.
and think about, what has their experience been, because there are, gaps in services for Black veterans in terms of access to, care and benefits and things like that. And so how does that impact the children? So I always think about, there are homeless veterans, but how do they have children? Unemployed veterans. Oh, do they have children? So you figure that the kids are they're going along for the ride, no matter, regardless of, what is happening with the parents. It's not the parent is not living in a bubble.
Yeah.
The children are not immune to all the things that are going on. And so how can we as an organization, and then by extension, how can we help the community best support the kids?
So, like, I definitely want to make sure that we are able to connect those who are a part of our listening audience.
Absolutely.
A few minutes ago, you just showed us a beautiful catalog showcasing some of those masks that you were describing. And like, I'm sure that you're going to have a link to that on your website at kidsrank.org.
Absolutely.
In order for those that are listening, you can, go to Kids Rank website and make sure to take a look at this catalog and also take a look at some of the other amazing things that they have going on. When I was just perusing through, I saw some cookies, and I'm a humongous cookie fanatic. So, like, before I get myself into a Cookie Monster outfit and start gobbling things down, what I'd like to do is, take one step back. Everything that you had just described was extremely important to this discussion, but I want to hone in on just one or two words that you utilize, one of them being information and information available. Because from what I've been able to find, there's not very much out there in terms of research or like really deep studies into the comprehensive factors and obstacles that go into military families, their outcomes, so on and so forth, regardless of branch. So, like, I kind of want to present this in a two-part fashion. What information, research, or reports, do you have that influence your thinking, your approach? And the second part is, if you could, make a wish for a particular study to come about, what study would that be, and why is it important?
Sure. So it's interesting. There's a new piece of research that just came out. It was a family study that talked about and a few things like family engagement and what's going on in communities. There were thousands of military families that participated from active duty to veteran. It was a pretty broad spectrum of participation respondents. And it said that only 30% of military veteran families feel connected in the communities that they're currently calling home, which means that is a huge percentage that are not feeling like they are belonging in where they are living. So that's a huge hurdle. I mean, that's a kind of an eye opener to kind of the community at large, and how can we do a better job, which is what we're hoping to do. And so my favorite piece of research, which I referenced a few minutes ago, building communities of care. That really is at the heart of really how we operate as an organization, Kids Rank, thinking about like, how do we do our part, and then how do we activate the partners around us to do the same, right? To recognize how can we best be a support system. So we work with our school districts, we work with the command, we work with our local organizations to sometimes just remind them that you have military kids in your student body, or in your your parishes, or what have you, at your command. And so how can we help you do a better job so that we can do a better job at what we do? And I think that those things are really important. I think that for us, really recognizing the strengths of military children, I think a piece of research that I would like to see come out that I haven't seen yet. I mean, research is only about 20 years old from around military and veteran kids, which is crazy because the military has been around forever. But I mean, it's an exaggeration. But they're just now starting to see kind of these long-term studies on the impact of service on the children. But I would be interested to say, I gave that statistic that over 50% of our currently serving are children of veterans. What does that other 50% look like, right? Because I would venture to say that a large percentage of that are young people that go into service themselves, right? Other types of service. So first responders, social workers, teachers, nurses, doctors, into those areas, that because I think that what is so beautiful about our community is that service, right? That kind of that spirit of wanting to serve. Their parents are serving the country for a variety of reasons. It's not all for the same reason, but they serve our country. They make a sacrifice, recognizing that this is what they're doing, and so that is ingrained in a lot of our families. And so it's interesting. I think it would be a really wonderful study to see, what that other percentage of military children that grow up, what they become. So that's my wish list.
I mean, I'm going to be right there, fingers crossed, wishing right alongside of you to, get that kind of information, because we could have a direct pipeline to the next generation of armed forces service members and not even realize it until, much later down the line when this research is conducted. But I want to connect to this last portion, because I know I have to let you go here. But just in thinking of how we commemorate and celebrate some of our aspects of military and veteran life, I look at months like April, which is the month of the military child. And then following that, you have the month of May with national holidays like Memorial Day. It really does take you from basically a cradle to, a military grave situation in which you're having to kind of comprehend so many complex issues that come about inside of military families, whether it be obstacles, pros, cons, benefits, resources, things of that nature. And then you move in to discussions about military benefits and what's left for a military family after a service member is no longer with us, or if it's a dual service family or dual service family, then what happens if both service members are no longer in the family unit? Like, what are some of the components and benefits and supports that we have there? So, like, it's a very interesting way that we compile these issues in front of not only the military civilian community, but also in front of our leaders, and ask them to make sense of all of this. So, with all that being said, I do want to open up the door in these last couple minutes that I have you. I am, that veteran that's transitioning out. I am that military spouse that's transitioning to a community near you. How do I get connected to, Kelcey? How do I get connected to Kids Rank? And, kind of give me an idea, like, what does that process look like? Is it just clicking on a website and then you personally come to my door, or like how does that how does that uh, translate?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm showing up at anybody's door, but yes, you can go to kidsrank.org and reach out to us. I'm happy. Liverpool at kidsrank.org is my email. And for us, there are several ways to kind of get involved with us. I mean, obviously, support through sponsorship or individual donations, and from a financial component, so that we can continue. Most of our programs are low to no cost for our families, because it's really important that we have give them these services, that we are working with them, so that many of them have large families. So that's one piece. But then for us, we also value people's talent, right? Their time and talent. And so we always are looking for ways in which people, and now we have kind of this remote option of working with people to
Hmm.
be able to provide and continue services. So say, for instance, our entrepreneurial program, you talked about the cookies. The kids really, they worked on this process of business. Financial literacy was at the heart of the program. We wanted to be able to teach them, to how they're thinking about money, saving it, budgeting it, all of those pieces, profit shares. And so the cookies are based on a wholesale model, and they learn the process of business. They had a recipe for a cookie. This year it is called Choco Zest, which is a chocolate chunk orange flavored cookie. It reminds you of a creamsicle. It's delicious.
Oh,
And so, but they took that we went to visit the manufacturer. We have a local manufacturer here, so they got to see how their cookie was made. It gets packaged. They have their own labels. They have their own barcode, and it goes all the way through to wholesaling it to both, local. We have a local grocery store that we work with, and coffee house, but also our corporate partners. Please feel free to wholesale them through us so that you can have them for your teams. But I mean, we really need talent to come in and support, because we are not necessarily experts in all things, right? And so, but we want to share, because to me, exposure is really important, because if you expose children to many different opportunities, you don't know what they will be connected with. And so we go to farms sometimes, and so they get to see how that goes. We have a horse therapy farm that we go to, equine therapy.
oh, beautiful.
We expose them to, you know, to we'll go visit our shed aquarium and do conservation, kind of get out and see how environmental impacts are working. So we really exposure. So the ability to have people volunteer for us, and maybe something that they already are so good at, and be able to share their talent with the kids, we can create a program that's fantastic. Where we have a local construction guy that's really super excited now, because he wants the kids to come out and see how the business of construction works. And I think that's awesome, right? Because you don't know, you like being able to see what I talked about, being able to see that child and really see their individual strengths, and encourage and foster that growth. Like, that's exciting to me, because they are coming from all over, and we want to not try to make them all a singular person, but like a singular view of what we think they should be, but the best versions of themselves.
Wow. You have just inspired me. I mean, everything that you have going on is amazing. So definitely go check it out. Kidsrank.org. Kelcey Liverpool, Executive Director, military spouse, military mom, military family supporter, all over rock star. What I'm going to say is, thank you again for joining us on this leg of our journey. Every single veteran, military service member, and military family member, appreciate you joining and enlightening us and giving us a little bit more to put in our packs as we transition out of the military and into the corporate workforce. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me today. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close us off today, and we will see you again. Thank you for listening to Compass Check with AmeriVet Securities. I've been your host, James Fitzgerald. See you next time.